Senator Al Gore of Tennessee.
The Democratic ticket of the next generation. A pair and a pitch aimed at Southerners, boomers, and centrists.
The Clinton-Gore ticket is the pro-family ticket in this race and will be the pro-family administration.
Clinton and Gore, the running mates, and their message. It's all part of a special hour-long edition of Inside Politics 92.
This is Inside Politics 92 with Frank Sesno in Washington and Catherine Crier at the CNN Center in Atlanta.
Thanks for joining us. Perhaps it's fitting in an election year often described as weird. Democratic presidential nominee to be Bill Clinton did something pretty unusual in the annals of politics. He picked a running mate who's a lot like him, Senator Albert Gore of Tennessee. CNN national political correspondent Gene Randall is in Little Rock, Arkansas, where the long-awaited announcement was made. Gene?
Catherine, an all-Southern national ticket. It was to some extent anticlimactic. Senator Al Gore of Tennessee in recent days had become the clear favorite. Still, Bill Clinton's selection of a running mate at least put an end to a growing media frenzy. When he walked out the door of the governor's mansion in Little Rock Thursday afternoon, Bill Clinton had with him his choice for vice president, Senator Al Gore of Tennessee. And after posing for pictures, the two men joined their families under a blazing Arkansas sun for the formal announcement.
I am proud to say to all of you here and to the United States, this is the next Vice President of the United States of America, Senator Al Gore of Tennessee.
Gore, who declined a presidential run of his own this year, citing family reasons, indicated he had gladly accepted Clinton's offer, which he admitted he had lately begun to expect.
But I'm here for one simple reason. I love my country. And I believe in my heart that this ticket gives our country the best chance for the change we so desperately need to move forward again.
A Clinton advisor terms Gore a national political figure of substance. As he put it, a sharp contrast to Dan Quayle. Gore's campaign experience, we are told, counted for a lot in the selection process. Gore won 5 Southern primaries when he made a bid for president 5 years ago. Arkansas was one of them, and Gore could help Bill Clinton consolidate his political base in the South, where Democratic presidential candidates have been off the map since Jimmy Carter. A win in Florida could be crucial in November. Gore could score well there with Jewish voters. Gore also brings political strength in policy areas where the Republicans will charge Bill Clinton is weak. Foreign policy, arms control and national security, and the environment. And there is the possible generational appeal. Gore is only 44 years old, a year younger than Clinton.
Got two people who, as I say, are young. They represent vigor. They communicate a sense of new direction for the country. And I think that's something that people, you know, whether you're in the Northwest or the Southeast, you're looking for that type of direction for the country now.
And on family values, which the Republicans like to claim as their own, Gore's wife, Tipper, could be a political asset with her organized campaign against raucous musical lyrics. Looking ahead to what could be a bruising fall campaign, the new team seemed eager for battle.
We're ready to roll up our sleeves and get to work to move things forward in this nation. We have the best plan, and now we have the best ticket. I'm proud to stand here with Bill Clinton at the beginning of a long, hard fight in behalf of the hard-working people of the United States of America.
A Clinton official says Clinton and Gore will do some joint campaigning, up to 6 days of it beginning after next week's Democratic Convention in New York. A 6-day campaign bus trip from New York to St. Louis. We can hardly wait. Frank?
Well, Gene, neither can we. From the hierarchy of the Democratic Party, predictable and positive reaction to Clinton's choice of a running mate.
I think Bill Clinton made a terrific choice, which strengthens the ticket and increases the chances that I always thought were very strong of Bill Clinton being elected the next president of the United States.
As far as their age is concerned, I think it's an asset. They're the first pair of candidates, president and vice president, that have both been born after World War II. And I think that may be a powerful symbolism that the country's moving to a new generation of leadership. Mature and responsible and seasoned, but a new generation. And I think the sense of the country that we need to move forward, that we need to take the country on a new direction, will be reflected in a positive sense in the fact that we have a youthful, vigorous, and highly qualified ticket.
Foley went on to take a swipe at the number 2 man on the Republican ticket, Vice President Dan Quayle. Foley said that unlike Quayle, Gore is qualified to step in and become president, should anything happen to Bill Clinton. Well, some Democrats aren't so sure that Clinton made the perfect choice. Jesse Jackson, for example. Jackson and Clinton haven't been on the best terms all throughout this whole process. So how will Gore's name on the ticket affect Clinton's chances of getting a Jackson endorsement?
I intend to support the Democratic Party. I have not really talked with Mr. Clinton and Gore about that ticket and its direction, and I cannot really make that decision until I know more than I know now. Clinton, for example, has sought to distance himself from the Rainbow Coalition for reasons of his own growth, and we're going to honor the distance that he seeks and not interfere with the campaign while supporting vigorously the Democratic Party.
Jackson says Gore's name does anything but broaden the ticket. However, Senators Harris Wofford of Pennsylvania and Bob Graham of Florida, both reportedly on Clinton's short list of potential running mates, say Clinton made a wise choice.
I think at last we can, with Clinton and Gore, truly pass the torch to a new generation. I think that's going to have a great appeal. I think Gore brings a national appeal as a true leader of the environment, and I look forward to campaigning for the ticket.
Al Gore brings some very great strengths to the ticket. One, he's clearly presidential in quality in terms of his background, his intellect. Second, he complements some of the things that Bill Clinton represents. Non-conventionality. This is not the textbook way in which you select a vice president. He also is going to focus on the future, not on the past. When you bring two people who are in their mid-40s, they're going to be talking about the kind of country that they want to build over the next 20 or 25 years. And then Al Gore has some things that Governor Clinton doesn't have, and that is extensive foreign policy experience and an international reputation in the environment.
Nebraska's Bob Kerrey, another senator said to be on Clinton's short list, also had plenty of praise for the Clinton-Gore ticket.
Despite the geography of his upbringing, the place Al Gore still calls home is Carthage, Tennessee, a small town on the Cumberland River northeast of Nashville. It was from Carthage that Al Gore began his trip to Little Rock this morning and a spot on the Democratic ticket. And it's from Carthage that Bill Delaney joins us now with some reaction.
Catherine, I'm standing here in front of the Smith County Courthouse in Carthage, Tennessee. We've been out much of the day talking to people here in town. People are happy about the Gore candidacy. What's notable is that there really isn't a sense of jubilation here. People are used to Gore's going places here in Carthage, Tennessee. They're not always sure exactly what difference that makes to them. On Main Street in Carthage on a 95-degree southern afternoon, an awful lot of people were just trying to stay cool, though the Gore candidacy did manage to get one or two worked up.
Oh, this is great news. We love Al Gore.
Signs of the times were already going up, and the owner of this shop had already created a new line of hats.
We're all proud of Gore. It says it here. A good local fella, done well.
A bit off Main Street, at Pizza Etc., the only joint in town that's open 24 hours a day. Nobody wanted to say a bad word about the senator. It seems like that kind of felt like talking against one of the family.
It's a nice job. I've cooked him a lot of hamburgers back when he was a kid.
There were some dissenters.
Well, in here this morning we've been split. They part of us for it, part of us against.
This town of 3,000 in the foothills of the Cumberland Mountains, on the banks of the Caney Fork River, has been voting for Gores for over 50 years. The Gores went to Washington, from the kind of town where people turn out for Little League and the Star-Spangled Banner on a summer evening. Senator Gore's link to a small-town America he's really spent relatively little time in. The senator was born and mostly raised not in the Tennessee foothills, but in Washington, D.C. He spent his summers in Carthage. No one seems to hold that against him.
He's there to do his job, and if that's where he's got to be, that's where he's got to be.
You know, it's perhaps a bit of a reflection of the national mood this year that people are happy about this candidacy here in Carthage, but there seems even here to be a sense that
politicians aren't capable of miracles this year, even one who's pretty much a member of the family. Frank?
Thanks, Steve. Coming up next on Inside Politics, the view from the opposition. Senior Bush-Quayle advisor Charles Black addresses and assesses Al Gore and the Southern strategy of the Democrats. That's still ahead.
No matter what our beliefs or where we come from, chances are if we fly, we do it on an airplane made by Boeing.
P.U. Nasty, rotten mildew stains. Try X14 mildew stain remover. Compare 3 sprays of Tilex to just 1 of X14. In minutes, the X14 side is cleaner without scrubbing. Proof X14 is better.
Hey, is Tegrin shampoo on sale? Nope, that's their new lower price. But it's still just as tough on dandruff, right? Sure, Tegrin doesn't do less, just costs less. Sounds right to me.
Tegrin, the right dandruff shampoo at the right price.
Freedent's the one.
Only one gum leads the way when you've got dental work, and that's Freedent. Freedent won't stick to your dental work, so you can be confident chewing it. And because it also moistens your mouth and freshens your breath. Freedent's in a class by itself.
Freedent's the one that took the stink out of gum, and Freedent moistens your mouth. Yeah, moistens your mouth and freshens your breath while you chew.
Non-stick Freedent moistens your mouth and freshens your breath.
You already know this, New York, and this. But how about this? I'm Jeannie Mose. It's tongue-in-cheek, it's offbeat, it's an experience that is mostly New York. A CNN special, Friday at 10:30 p.m. only on CNN.
The reaction from the Republicans. Well, they're wasting no time painting Al Gore the way they want him portrayed. A Ted Kennedy tax and spend liberal. Well, still in a backhand sort of way, they acknowledge Bill Clinton is directly challenging them in the South, ground that has proven pretty fertile for the Republicans since 1968. For his part, the traveling President Bush chose to remain above the crossfire, at least for the time being. In Helsinki, our White House correspondent, Mary Tillotson.
Rather than muddying his own summit appearance as U.S. head of state by chatting about Al Gore, President Bush brushed aside a question about the man who will be on the Democratic ticket against him in November.
In reaction to the Gore-Clinton ticket, Mr. Bush, a Gore-Clinton ticket is out. Reaction, sir? Thank you very much.
That set the tone for the whole White House contingent in Helsinki. White House aides who are usually willing to spin, as in political spin, were hardly willing to admit for the record that they've even heard of Gore, much less what they think of him as heartbeat-away material. Secretary of State James Baker, who ran George Bush's 1988 campaign, says he's out of the politician business. Now he's a diplomat, and Baker was even diplomatic about Gore, up to a point.
I know Al Gore, and I know him very well, and his wife, of course, and my wife are very close friends, and I would characterize Al Gore as a friend of mine. And having said that, I can only wish him the worst possible luck in his new endeavor.
White House silence about the Democratic ticket will not last long. The President and Secretary Baker will be fishing in Wyoming next week while the Democrats hold their convention in New York. After that convention endorses the Clinton-Gore ticket, you can expect the President and his whole team to start very publicly criticizing just about everything the Democratic team has ever done or is thinking about doing. Mary Tillotson, CNN, Helsinki.
And joining us now in Washington for what will surely be some of that criticism, Charles Black, senior advisor to the Bush-Quayle campaign. Welcome, Charlie.
Thank you, Frank.
Let me start by asking you for your straight-off-the-cuff reaction to Senator Al Gore as running mate to Bill Clinton.
Well, what we have here is another thoroughly liberal national Democratic ticket with both the candidates favoring tax increases, more government spending, more regulation of the economy. Senator Gore is one of the most liberal members of the Senate, so in marrying himself to the Washington liberal establishment, Governor Clinton's gone right to one of the most liberal members.
Well, let's see. Yes, my count was you used the word liberal 4 times there, so I think I get a pretty good idea of where you're going with your strategy.
That was my quota so far.
But let me ask you this. There are many people within the Democratic Party who see this very differently. They say Al Gore is certainly not from the liberal wing of the party, that he's a centrist Democrat, that there are certain things, for example, that Jesse Jackson observed that he's not in favor of, such as raising the minimum wage. Aren't you going to have a hard time painting him as a traditional liberal?
Well, I don't think so. I think the facts speak for themselves. And if you take, for example, National Journal, which is a very respected, objective source, they rate Senator Gore as zero conservative on economic issues, zero conservative on social issues. The lifetime
How did he do on foreign policy issues?
I don't have that on the top of my head, but I can tell you that he's only cast one foreign policy vote in support of the Reagan and Bush administrations of any significance in the last 12 years. The American Conservative Union lifetime rating of Senator Gore is 11%. That's just about where Senator Kennedy is. It's more liberal than Senator Biden and Senator George Mitchell, the majority leader. There are no issues where Al Gore doesn't vote with Ted Kennedy and George Mitchell and the liberal leadership of the Congress.
Well, let's come back to the foreign policy record of Al Gore for a moment. He was one of the few Democrats who voted for the Persian Gulf War resolution.
Yes, indeed, he did.
And you're not going to be very able to take him on the foreign policy front, are you?
Well, we certainly are.
On what ground?
Well, that's the only good vote that he ever cast. That's the one I was referring to. He also, at a time when President Reagan was building up our military capability in order to bring communism to its knees, he came out for a nuclear freeze. He voted against aid to the Contras. He's voted against SDI. On every significant military and foreign policy issue, he's voted with the liberals in the Congress. There's no doubt that, if anything, this moves their ticket to the left.
Okay, well, we have a pretty good sense of where you're going politically on this whole thing. Let me ask you for some political strategy, if you will, and some stargazing on this subject. 2 border state politicians apparently aimed at shoring up the Democrats' previously shaky southern base. What's your assessment of that, and how does that change the Republican southern strategy?
Well, I don't think it changes it much. The South is still President Bush's best region. It may cause us to have to campaign a little bit harder in Tennessee. I think we'll still carry Tennessee and all the southern states. It's entirely possible that Senator Gore would help Governor Clinton in Arkansas. But look, it also, he passed up the chance to improve, Governor Clinton passed up the chance to improve his prospects in the Northeast, the Midwest, and the West by picking someone from that region. But this was a defensive choice. Governor Clinton is dealing from weakness, so he picked someone to try to shore up his weaknesses, both his own regional home base, his lack of a military record, and his radical views on family values.
Let me ask the Southern question this way. This is not necessarily just a 2-man race. We have Ross Perot as well. So, with Al Gore on the ticket and Ross Perot, what does that do, in your estimation, to George Bush's reliability on the southern region?
I don't think it affects it. It may cause us to have to campaign a little bit harder in a couple of states, but the South is still the president's best region. Bill Clinton knows that, or he wouldn't have put Al Gore on the ticket. I expect us to carry every southern state. We may have to fight for Tennessee, and we might lose Arkansas in the end, but the South will be a reliable base for President Bush in this 3-way race.
Let me ask you this. There are some, as I said, within the Democratic Party who say that this is too narrow a ticket. What does Al Gore do you suppose, for the Democrats in the industrial states, in the Northeast, the Midwest?
Well, let me tell you one big problem he creates for them. As one of the most radical environmentalists anywhere in the Congress, he is the author of a proposal which would put the American auto industry out of business, a 45-mile-per-gallon requirement on so-called CAFE standards, which, if you see what the governors of the auto states are saying today, they're scared to death that by Governor Clinton adopting Senator Gore's environmental policies, the U.S. auto industry would literally be shut down. His radical environmentalism would cost jobs, and it would cost more jobs in the industrial states than anywhere else.
Well, Charlie Black, thanks very much. Clearly the gloves are off already, and you're punching away.
Thank you, Frank.
Ross Perot had nothing but praise today for Bill Clinton's VP pick, called Al Gore a fine man with a wonderful family and an excellent choice. But Perot remains tight-lipped about who his own running mate might be, and he says he's taking the decision very seriously.
I have always said that the person I choose would be able to replace me in a heartbeat if something happened to me. And that the American people might think we ought to reverse the ticket the day I pick that person. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. We will talk about it at the right time, but as you can see from Governor Clinton's approach, you get it done, then you talk about it.
Perot declined to answer further questions about how a selection process is going. And coming up, our roundtable of political pundits are poised and eager to consider the pros and cons of a Clinton-Gore ticket.
I was really downing those tablets. They want, they're not candy. I started to think there was something really wrong with my stomach. I was relieved when my doctor told me to try a new antacid tablet.
Introducing Mylanta tablets, shown to neutralize more stomach acid than the leading tablet.
Unbelievable.
New Mylanta tablets.
My doctor said Mylanta.
We were having fun until Thomas put in our new money management program.
Select your investments.
All these investment categories popped up.
Stocks, bonds, T-bills.
That's easy. We only have one.
Why?
That's when I wondered, does everyone have all these?
Common sense says any investment plan should be diversified, and Fidelity Investments, America's largest mutual fund company, can make it easy.
Last night, it really hit us.
This place sounds like Wall Street tonight.
We can barely keep up with our work, let alone our investments. That's when I decided I'm going to find something that can do it all.
I'm going to do some research.
You can make just one investment in Fidelity Asset Manager, a mutual fund that gradually adjusts its portfolio for changing markets with no sales charge. It can be great for an IRA, too. So call Fidelity now for a free fact kit on how to diversify in one easy step with Fidelity Asset Manager. Call 1-800-356-8100. Fidelity Investments. Common sense. Uncommon results.
Here's the actual winning moment of the newest Publishers Clearinghouse Billionaire.
Sue King just won $1 million super prize.
Are you kidding me?
Your winning moment can be next if you enter our new sweepstakes fast.
This is totally unreal. This just can't be happening.
Monday's keynote address, Tuesday's platform debates, the presidential ballot on Wednesday, and Thursday, the nomination of a running mate. Convention coverage that goes beyond gavel to gavel begins 4:30 Eastern Monday on CNN.
There are 2 or 3 things about Al Gore that I think distinguish him. One is I think it really does draw the battle lines, and it means that their work's going to be cut out for anybody that thinks they're going to take the South away from Al Gore.
Waiting game and guessing game are over. Gore is the man, and our team of political pundits is chomping at the bit, ready to have at him. Joining us from New York, syndicated columnist and political analyst Robert Novak of the Chicago Sun-Times. In Washington, Eleanor Clift of Newsweek, and syndicated columnist Mark Shields. Bob Novak, I know that you are probably chomping as much as anyone. You like this ticket?
Well, it's a very dull ticket. There's 2 kinds of vice presidential candidates you can pick, Catherine. You can do a crapshoot, which maybe succeeded, may not. Lyndon Johnson succeeded, Geraldine Ferraro didn't. Or you can have a safe bet. Al Gore, as a candidate in '88, was deadly dull. I don't think he does any great damage, but he certainly isn't going to carry the South. And this may be a ticket where Bill Clinton needs something more than a safe bet. He may have needed a crapshoot like Mario Cuomo or Sam Nunn to really shake up the deck a little bit.
Eleanor, changes since 1988, and we saw Al Gore campaigning. He's got a book out on the environment. He stood with President Bush on the Gulf War. Is this a changed man at all?
Well, if you remember some of the debates from 1988, he's pretty feisty in debates. I think he will do pretty well as an attack dog. But I completely disagree with Bob. I mean, I think this is a ticket that defies conventional wisdom. It didn't go for geographical balance. In fact, it's a clean generational sweep, and I think it strengthens Bill Clinton's message of change, and it also shores him up on some of his weaknesses, namely the environment and also foreign policy.
Mark, we just heard Frank Sesno talking to Charlie Black, and Charlie Black is already painting Al Gore as a liberal with a capital L. Fair?
It's fair. That's what Charlie's going to do. It's try to. They're not going to find anything on Al Gore on character, that's for sure. So they're going to have to go after his ideology. And the irony, of course, as Eleanor pointed out, in 1988, he was the militant Democratic candidate for president. He was the pro-defense fellow who had voted for the MX, for the B1. And so in those areas which really haven't been very salient to this campaign in 1992 of a post-Cold War era, I think that's going to be a tough dog to make hunt.
Well, what about Jesse Jackson's remarks? Tickets too narrow, may not be responding to the cities, to the workers, to the labor force in this country?
I don't think Jesse is in very good shape right now. Clinton did a real number on him on the Sister Soldier business, and the other blacks didn't really pick him up. Catherine, if I could say, though, I think one of the funniest things I have heard is not that that Al Gore is a liberal. Of course he's a liberal. But that my brothers and sisters in the media are calling him a centrist or a moderate. He may be moderate to Eleanor Clift and Mark Shields, but everybody's moderate to him.
I think you could look at his voting record, and certainly his demeanor is cautious, middle of the road. And, you know, I think hurling the word liberal around has really lost its potency. I don't think the voters out there care about those old labels. I mean, they're looking at Ross Perot, who doesn't have a label at all, and just trying to declare someone a liberal and using that as a strategy to win an election is pretty sorry.
It's not a matter of using it as a strategy, Eleanor. It's a matter of accuracy. And it isn't a matter of somebody's demeanor or whether their personality is calm and cool. It's a question of how they vote. And these guys are right in the liberal Democratic Party.
I think these guys are right in the middle, and I think you also have to look at Al Gore's wife, Tipper, who everybody laughed at 4 years ago with her campaign to label the record albums. I think she's right there now as a nice bulwark against family values. And that array of wives and children on the podium looked like it was straight off of a Hallmark card.
Well, Mark, that was sort of interesting because Bill Clinton challenged Sister Souljah on her remarks, a rapper in the music business. Tipper attacked the lyrics and went to Congress to try and control pornography and violence in the music industry. Are we seeing a little alienation, possibly, of young voters by this ticket?
Well, I don't know if we will, Catherine. I will say this. In 1988, we learned one thing conclusively, and that is that nobody votes for vice president. On Election Day 1988, when 100,000 voters were polled as they came out of their polling place, they were asked one question. If you could vote today for vice president alone, for Lloyd Bentsen or Dan Quayle, for whom would you vote? The vote was 63% for Bentsen, 27% for Quayle. And we remember that debate in 1988. If it had been a prize fight, the ringside position would have stopped it. It was so one-sided, Bentsen over Quayle. Yeah. I don't think we're going to get to the point, as Bob Novak has to admit, we're not getting to the point where spouses of vice presidential candidates are going to decide the outcome of presidential elections.
Well, let me ask you this, Mark. When you see these two fraternity boys, Southern fraternity boys, standing up next to each other and nodding solemnly when the other one's talking, do you think that really is all that good of an image? I mean, I've never seen two guys who are the Bobsy.
I have to butt in. Compared to what? You're going against Skull and Bones versus, Indiana golf major. I think Clinton and Gore look pretty good compared to that. I must say I was struck by the expanse of their chests, though. They may have to put out their stats.
Let me ask the three of you about the Southern strategy. Is that still an effective strategy in attacking the Republicans where they've done so well, or is that really what's going on with this ticket?
Catherine, let me take that one. This is not a Bubba's ticket, believe me. This is not a ticket that's a barbecue pit, and this is a ticket where one went to Harvard and the other went to Georgetown, Oxford, and Yale. And I don't think they're playing regional politics. We're in, quite frankly, into a three-way race. Most of the old calculations are put aside, and I think that what Clinton is playing is a lot stronger generational card than he is a geographical
card. Let me ask you this. The question is, the Democrats, to win this election, have to carry the Northeast. They have to carry New York.
That's right.
Who would help them more in New York, Mario Cuomo or Al Gore? I think Cuomo would.
I think you could make that case, Bob. I think that Al Gore has been out there before. He has run before. That's an enormous advantage. He's going to go belly to belly with Dan Quayle, and I'll bet you a six-pack of any beverage of your choice on the outcome of that one.
Yeah, you're looking at more than New York. I mean, Mario Cuomo might have been a great one-state or one-region choice, but I think that Gore does bring some strength in California, which is also critical.
I think Mario would have really energized this convention.
I think you're right. And Mario would have, and I can't imagine a worse vice president than Mario Cuomo. I can imagine a great national candidate, a great speaker, a great energizer and galvanizer.
Mario can still energize the convention. He's the keynote speaker.
He might have been bad as vice president as Lyndon Johnson, Mark.
Oh, Bob.
Mark, final thought.
How many paragraphs, the office poll is, how many paragraphs will Mario Cuomo go in his nominating speech before he mentions Bill Clinton's name?
All right, well, we're going to be able to calculate that for you next week. Eleanor Clift of Newsweek, syndicated columnist Mark Shields, and Robert Novak, Capital Gangster Extraordinaire. Thank you all. Coming up next on Inside Politics 92, Clinton's VP picking process, how and why it led to Al Gore. Political analyst Bill Schneider in a new poll examining where the Democratic Party stands as the party faithful head to New York.
Mystic Music presents Instrumental Magic, 40 of the most beautiful melodies ever recorded. Just listen to these romantic favorites. Over 2 hours of best-loved classics. Instrumental Magic is only available in this special television offer. Order the enchanting sounds of Instrumental Magic today. 3 records or 2 cassette tapes, only $19.95. 2 compact discs, only $24.95. Here's how to order.
To order, call toll-free 1-800-257-1257. That's 1-800-257-1257. Or send $19.95 for records or cassettes, or $24.95 for 2 compact discs, plus $4 shipping and handling to Instrumental Magic, P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia.
This is CNN.
The time has come. Throughout American history, each generation has passed on leadership to the next. That time has come again. The time for a new generation of leadership for the United States of America.
And so the die is cast for the Democrats. The presidential nominee apparent, Bill Clinton, naming Senator Albert Gore of Tennessee as his running mate. What took roughly a half hour to announce took weeks to decide. A look back now from CNN's Dan Blackburn.
2 weeks after his decisive victory in the New York primary, Bill Clinton was working on his choice of a running mate. On April 23rd, Clinton drew up a list of nearly 40 names of people in public life and named a team to review them. By mid-June, that team, headed by former Deputy Attorney General Warren Christopher, had reviewed mountains of material, mostly public documents, and had narrowed the list to just half a dozen potential candidates. In addition to Albert Gore, the others on the list included Senator Bob Kerrey of Nebraska, Senator Bob Graham of Florida, Congressman Lee Hamilton of Indiana, Senator Jay Rockefeller of West Virginia, and Senator Harris Wofford of Pennsylvania. For most of the past 3 weeks, Gore was at the top of the list. During that time, the Clinton campaign's political team joined the Christopher Group in assessing the finalists. It was at night when much of the discussion took place during meetings with Clinton at the Arkansas governor's mansion.
Senator Kerry, what you talking to the governor about?
Then Clinton began meeting privately with each of the 6 men. The final meeting was a much publicized midnight session with Bob Kerrey. Warren Christopher told reporters that discussions about the vice presidential choice were low-key.
And we passed our views on to Governor Clinton. He absorbed them, took them on board. We talked about them extensively, but as I say, he maintained his power of decision right up to the end until he made a decision last night about 11 o'clock.
So this wasn't a debate at any point over a candidate?
It certainly was not a debate.
The final decision came late Wednesday night, during yet one more meeting at the governor's mansion, when Clinton told the group that Gore was his choice. Then, after midnight, a phone call went to Gore himself at his home in Tennessee, and he was told that he would be Clinton's running mate. In the final hours, senior aides say that the primary considerations were whether Clinton was convinced that Gore could take over as president, should something happen to him, and whether he, Clinton, personally was comfortable with Gore. Late Wednesday night, the answer to both those questions was yes. Dan Blackburn, CNN, Little Rock.
Well, Al Gore was born into the political spotlight, practically raised on Capitol Hill. He's anything but the Washington outsider that Bill Clinton claims to be. So what will his name lend to the Clinton campaign? CNN's Bob Franken has a closer look at Tennessee's junior senator.
The staff of Al Gore has worked very hard to help sell him to Governor Clinton.
We will finally give the United States a real environmental presidency.
While Senator Gore's staff is openly enthusiastic, friends acknowledge Gore is normally very reserved in public.
You know, I don't necessarily consider that a flaw, and I hope that nobody else will. This is a very friendly and genuine man.
Although he is not a schmoozer, Gore is the consummate Washington insider, literally almost born to his position. His father, Al Gore Sr., was a three-term senator from Tennessee himself. The family home in Carthage, Tennessee, was not really where Gore Jr. grew up. This was really where he was raised. The nation's capital was the backdrop for his childhood. In fact, Gore has been called the senator from St. Albans, after the exclusive Washington private school he attended. After college at Harvard and Vanderbilt, he began as a newspaper reporter, then was elected to the House in 1976 and the Senate in '84. His image has been that of very much the family man. Gore was an original sponsor of the legislation declaring Earth Day in 1990. A great deal of his emphasis in the Senate has been on environmental issues.
I believe, and many others do, that the task of saving the Earth's environment will become the central organizing principle of the post-Cold War world.
In fact, Gore is the author of a current best-selling book on the environment. On other issues, he personifies the so-called moderate wing of the Democratic Party. He's considered pro-abortion rights, a co-sponsor of the Freedom of Choice Act. But Gore, the Vietnam veteran, supported the president on authorizing military action against Iraq.
I feel that I owe my vote to an expression of support for the resolution authorizing the use of force. I hope it will not be used. I'm afraid that it will be, but I will vote for that resolution.
Gore's appeal in the South was amply demonstrated with his strong showing as a presidential candidate on Super Tuesday, 1988, 3 weeks before his 40th birthday. His fellow senator from Tennessee, Jim Sasser, worked for Gore Sr. when Gore Jr. was in high school.
He's not the joke-telling, backslapping type of political person that many people identify with politics. He's issue-oriented.
I'm proud to stand here with Bill Clinton at the beginning of a long, hard fight.
The similarities are apparent. Clinton and Gore are both Southern baby boomers. But there are also big differences. Clinton, the man who started from humble beginnings, and Gore, who spent his whole life as a political insider. Bob Franken, CNN, Capitol Hill.
By tapping Gore for the ticket, Clinton has also snagged a sort of secret weapon on the family values front, Gore's wife, Tipper. As CNN's Deborah Potter reports, Mrs. Gore shares Hillary Clinton's knack for getting lots of attention out on the campaign trail.
They are both outspoken advocates for children, but while Tipper Gore and Hillary Clinton are high-profile political wives, their perspectives are different. Tipper Gore, mother of 4, was a little-known suburban housewife when she launched a controversial campaign in the mid-'80s for warning labels on explicit music albums.
As parents, we believe we have a right, some consumer guidance in our effort to protect our own children from material that we believe may be inappropriate for them.
Her successful effort drew angry protests at the time and was considered a potential liability for Gore when he ran for president 4 years ago. But Tipper's old opponents in Hollywood say all is forgiven.
In recent years, Tipper Gore has really stopped being a public enemy of the entertainment business.
In this election year, with the Republicans making an issue of family values and mounting their own attack on Hollywood, Tipper Gore may be an asset to the Democrats.
Well, I think the biggest plus she brings is the sense of children's advocacy and a strong parent and advocacy for kids and those sorts of, shall I call them, democratic version of family values.
Tipper Gore also brings a kind of balance to the running mates' spouses, having chosen a different path than Hillary Clinton.
I suppose I could have stayed home and baked cookies and had tea, but what I decided to do was to fulfill my profession.
While Tipper Gore did stay home and never practiced her chosen profession, she has a master's degree in child psychology. Friends say she has always been active.
There's a slogan that says, seize the day, seize the hour. And I think that's what she does. She works hard at what she's doing, and she makes time for a lot of things. But she does it. She just goes at it and does it.
Despite all the attention, there is no evidence that a running mate's wife has ever made a difference in a political campaign. But this is a quirky year, so Tipper Gore becomes yet another factor to consider. Deborah Potter, CNN, Washington.
Continuing our look at Clinton's choice, we turn to some new poll numbers, and public opinion analyst Bill Schneider will be here to explain them next.
On an average day, Michael Jordan lasts through hundreds of autographs and has one bowl of whole grain Wheaties with breakfast.
Yeah, but it's a big bowl.
Wheaties sticks with you. It's hearty, whole grain wheat with all the bran. So can Wheaties satisfy you more than some airy, lightweight cereal?
Can I get back to you on that?
Give me your autograph!
Betty to Wheaties.
We all need trusted friends, and here's one you can always count on. Sears Healthcare Catalog is available free, and you get 10% off your first order. You can order hundreds of items, all with the famous Sears money-back guarantee. From wheelchairs, beds, incontinence and post-mastectomy products to prescription drugs. Quality like this. Meet incontinence needs economically with this washable, reusable brief. For mattress protection, use this machine washable underpad. Beat high cost with Sears value pricing. Enjoy toll-free shopping, prompt delivery, in-home repair service, and a choice of credit options. Sears even files for your Medicare reimbursement. Good value, good care, plus 10% off your first order. For your free copy of Sears Healthcare Catalog, call 1-800-832-1800. Call now, 1-800-832-1800.
Norma Bates, breast cancer, 8-year survivor.
Elroy Brookshen, lymphoma, 11-year survivor.
Chester Jermakwitz, prostate and bone cancer, 6-year survivor.
Diane Casto, breast cancer, 9-year survivor.
Call 1-800-227-3300. Our results speak for themselves.
Sam Oswald, lymphoma, 6-year survivor.
If the presidential election were held today, a new CNN USA Today Gallup poll shows George Bush taking 35% of the vote and Clinton and Perot close behind with 28% and 30% respectively. Our political analyst, Bill Schneider, joins us now from New York with additional results of this latest survey. Well, Bill, welcome from the convention locale, or more or less that area.
Yes.
Bill, with the Bill Clinton going into this convention, just how does he stand?
Well, Clinton is trailing Bush, and he needs a boost out of this convention. Now, typically for a Democrat, the convention produces an average of about a 4% boost. That's the last 7 conventions averaged. That kind of boost would make this really a three-way race. Now, when we looked at the poll, we found that Clinton has the highest negative ratings in at least 40 years. As you can see, he's more unfavorably than favorably regarded. I guess the good news is that Bush's ratings are almost as negative right now, and Perot's negatives have been rising in recent weeks. Clinton is also only getting about 57% support from his fellow Democrats, whereas George Bush is getting 68% from his fellow Republicans. Clinton needs to rally the Democratic Party base, Frank, and that's what conventions are for.
Exactly. So a very unenthusiastic party base coming to New York. What exactly is Clinton up against now?
Well, you know, normally an incumbent president's weakness is his challenger's strength, but not this year. We looked at each candidate's strengths and weaknesses on the issues. What we asked is, which of the three candidates, Bush, Clinton, or Perot, would handle different issues best? Now, here's what we found. Bush's strongest issue was foreign affairs. That was the one issue where he stood out. The best issues for Bill Clinton were what I would call social welfare issues. Those were issues like health care, education, the environment. That's where Bill Clinton was rated best. But here's the ringer in this race. When asked who would handle the economy best and who would handle unemployment, those are the issues that go to Ross Perot. The Republicans are getting miserable ratings on the economy, but the Democrats are still not trusted to manage the nation's economy. That's the number one issue in the voters' minds, and it is Clinton's number one problem right now.
Well, today, obviously, we're focusing on the naming of Al Gore as his running mate. Any way to measure response to that so far, Bill?
Well, we did ask people earlier this week who they would like to see Bill Clinton pick as his running mate, and the first choice among the Democrats was, as you can see here, Al Gore, although about a third said they didn't know. Al Gore did come in first. He picked the popular choice. We also asked about Al Gore's favorability, and here we can see that he has a pretty good favorable to unfavorable ratio. He's pretty well regarded, although almost half the voters had no opinion of Al Gore. You know, Frank, in some ways, Gore reinforces Clinton's strengths. Both candidates obviously do well in the South. That's their native region. But both are doing surprisingly well in the Northeast, which is where Clinton ran poorly in the primaries. If you look back at how Kennedy won in 1960 and Carter won in 1976, it was by putting together the Northeast and the South, and Clinton and Gore are both strong in those regions. But Gore has noticeably more appeal than Bill Clinton does to independents and to Republicans. Now, those are those critical suburban voters. Clinton didn't do very well among those suburban voters in the primaries. He lost them to Paul Tsongas. Gore may help Clinton a great deal in appealing to that suburban vote.
And the question, though, will come round again as to how much vice presidential candidates help the top of the ticket. Okay, Bill Schneider, thanks very much. And Inside Politics 92 will continue right after this.
Football fans, here it comes. Sports Illustrated gets you ready for the excitement of NFL football in this amazing new video. The 1992 Pro Football Spectacular, an action-packed preview of the 92 season. It's free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated. The best way to capture all the action and emotion of sports every week. Sports Illustrated's free video preview will put you in places you've never been before.
Stay at home if you don't want to get hit.
You'll not only get the best of last season, Sports Illustrated will give you their view of which teams could be next year's champions.
If I were to pick one right now, I'd say the Dallas Cowboys.
And who is the best coach, the best running back, and the quarterback you want in the clutch.
He's a great quarterback. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Starting today.
Call this toll-free number now and get a spectacular 44-minute preview of the 92 NFL season. Free from Sports Illustrated.
I love you, Mom.
Plus, you'll get a second video free with your paid subscription. Sports Illustrated will give you the NFL video of your favorite team, no matter which team you prefer. Pick any one of the 2018 videos. It's your choice, and it's a free choice from Sports Illustrated. Your team video will take you through the 91 season from end zone to end zone, from the sidelines to the locker room. Plus, you'll find out what's new for 92.
Anybody nervous? Anybody scared?
Get your 2 free videos, then 30 issues of Sports Illustrated, including the 2 big football previews for only $1.49 an issue. Save 50% off the cover price. Call now to subscribe or renew and experience football from a different angle with Sports Illustrated and your 2 free videos. The Pro Football Spectacular, plus the NFL team video of your choice. For quicker delivery, use your credit card. With your 2 free videos, you'll catch the best of the year, and you'll keep the excitement coming your way every week in Sports Illustrated. Call now.
Here's another actual winning moment from Publishers Clearinghouse.
Because you've just won $1 million.
The Perkins won $1 million. You could win $10 million. Publishers Clearinghouse, the house where dreams come true.
This is marvelous.
Well, you know what it does? It reflects the growing importance of the environment, and it shows that Governor Clinton really sees that as very, very important for the election, and I'm very glad of that. But I'm also concerned that unless the platform and unless Governor Clinton in this campaign makes measurable commitments to the environment, that will allow voters to really make a clear judgment that it's not enough. We've got to get beyond the gooey language and imprecise rhetoric and let people know precisely what targets, what goals, and what commitments we as a party are prepared to make to protect the environment of this country.
One of the challengers for the Democratic nomination, former California Governor Jerry Brown, commenting on Al Gore's selection. Well, television commercials have played a pivotal role in American political campaigns for almost 30 years now. Just as the U.S. has gone through dramatic changes during that time, so have political commercials. CNN's Charles Feldman reports the political ad appears ready to make another revolutionary jump.
Yeah, we'll do it again. President Bush, Governor Clinton, and undeclared but presumed candidate Ross Perot are about to go to war. Just like the primary season, a war of television commercials aimed at helping define their images, highlight their strengths, gloss over their weaknesses, and in some cases, just make us all feel real good. Nothing new here. That's been happening since TV commercials in the 60s emerged as a powerful tool in presidential politics. So powerful that this commercial for Lyndon Johnson, depicting Republican Barry Goldwater as someone who might plunge the nation into nuclear war, aired but once and is remembered to this day. All of God's children can live. What is likely to be different for this campaign is the 30-second commercial appears to be on the way out.
We know for a fact that the candidates are exploring longer commercials. All the candidates have made inquiries with the major television networks.
How long is longer? How about a 2.5-minute commercial for President Bush? Or a 30-minute one for Governor Clinton, all aimed at giving viewers a diet with more substance and fewer cliches.
I think people in this country are looking for more than sound bites and 30-second commercials.
Frank Crier is Governor Clinton's media consultant. He helped select one controversial advertising agency whose work is noted for innovation, like this ad.
Your mother wears Nikes.
Now, if you are not looking forward to longer political commercials, look on the bright side. Experts say the longer the commercial, the less likely it is to be a vitriolic attack on the opposition. Some think, despite all the talk, in the end, 30-second commercials will win out, although carefully placed.
To put them on shows such as Roseanne and The Simpsons, where those viewers may not have figured out who they're going to vote for.
Whatever the length, the commercials should prove interesting. Ross Perot has hired the man who created Ronald Reagan's Morning in America commercials and reportedly may begin advertising next week. Meantime, President Bush will rely on a more conservative group of commercial makers whose spots for car makers like BMW are highly polished but tried and true. Charles Feldman, CNN, New York.
Usually, when you send flowers out of town, you give the order to somebody who takes a cut. Then he passes the order to somebody else who takes a cut. But now there's Flowers Direct that actually lets you speak to a florist in the area where you're sending the flowers. Flowers Direct, or We Cut, is the middleman. Call Flowers Direct now, 1-800-621-2121.
Wasted time.
Not enough time.
Unemployment.
You never needed it more. 1,000 milligrams of strong pain relief for today's headaches. Introducing new extra-strength Bayer Plus with Stomach Guard. Now there's no pain you can't bear.
When my Raymond gets constipated, I give him Phillips Milk of Magnesia. Phillips is the only one that soothes that stomach acidity feeling Ray sometimes gets.
Maureen, put that away.
Only Phillips soothes your upset stomach, then relieves constipation overnight.
I think we should throw a party.
I know what you'd serve.
On the surface, it's a perfect neighborhood. But beneath the surface, there could be trouble brewing in the septic system. Ask anyone who's had a backup. Better to maintain your system. That includes Rid-X once a month. Rid-X helps keep your system free-flowing. And regular maintenance, including Rid-X, helps prevent backup. Look beneath the surface. Use Rid-X once a month.
Tonight, both young, both Southern, both soon to be the Democratic nominees. Clinton and Gore, too much of the same, or just what a new generation wants? The Twin Ticket in CNN's Crossfire, 7:30 Eastern tonight.
I love being naughty, especially when I can get away with it. Like with Breyer's Light. Less fat so I can indulge in sinful fudge. Real vanilla. Pure, true taste. I feel like I'm cheating. But I'm not. What a shame.
All natural Breyer's Light frozen dessert. So real, you can taste it.
Join Larry King live all next week at a special time, 5 p.m. Eastern, as he talks with the most influential people at the Democratic Convention. Guests like Ann Richards, Dianne Feinstein, and Joe Kennedy. All next week at 5 Eastern, Larry King talks with the people playing key roles in the Democratic Party. And this Sunday night at 9, Larry welcomes Mario Cuomo for a 1-hour convention preview. A special edition of Larry King Live, Sunday, 9 Eastern on CNN.
Ross Perot is now racked up his 18th state, the state of Colorado, on his way to getting his name on all 50 states in the United States. All the fuss over Clinton's running mate in the upcoming Democratic Convention is stealing much of Ross Perot's political thunder. So what does Perot have planned to reclaim the spotlight while the Democrats are partying in New York? Not much, according to his campaign officials, who say Perot plans to lay low. Perhaps a rally here, television interview there, but in the words of campaign chairman Tom Luce, we don't have any dancing bears, we don't have a party line. President Bush also plans to keep a low profile. He'll spend part of the week fishing in Wyoming. Frank?
Well, tomorrow on Inside Politics, we'll grill Democratic Party Chairman Ron Brown about the newly named Clinton-Gore ticket and set the stage for next week's national convention in New York. That's it for this edition of Inside Politics. Thanks for watching. I'm Frank Sesno in Washington.
Thanks so much. And let's now go to Hollywood, where Jim Moret is standing by with Showbiz. Jim?
Catherine and Frank, next on CNN, one of Tipper Gore's biggest opponents in the record industry reacts to the addition of Al Gore to the Democratic presidential ticket. Also, the special effects wizards behind the new movie Honey, I Blew Up the Kid reveal their secrets. And author Judith Krantz discusses her reputation for writing riveting sex scenes. Those stories, plus Penny and Gary Marshall, next on Showbiz Today.
Senator Al Gore of Tennessee. You front. Thank you. Thank you.
Coming up, Showbiz Today, followed by The World Today, after this local commercial break, here on CNN.
Irresistibly delicious. A rainbow of richness. A visual feast. Taste.
Anderson Erickson low-fat frozen yogurt.
Your senses know the difference.
This is CNN.
Live, it's Showbiz Today, with Bella Shaw in Hollywood and Laurin Sidney in New York. Rap music is often the center of controversy. Is it justified, or is it merely the same as the early years of rock? Also, we'll look behind the scenes at the special effects of Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and Penny and Gary Marshall keep it in the family. Those stories and more on Showbiz Today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Showbiz Today. Jim Murray is sitting in for Bella Shaw, and I'm Laurin Sidney. When it was announced Thursday that Senator Albert Gore will be Bill Clinton's running mate, some members of the music industry thought of Gore's wife, Tipper. As the founder of the Parents Music Resource Center, Tipper Gore at one time led the fight to get warning labels on records with explicit lyrics. But a one-time opponent of hers says that the battle is long over.
In recent years, Tipper Gore has really stopped being a public enemy of the entertainment business. And that Al Gore has made a lot of friends in Hollywood because of his very eloquent support for environmental issues, and that ultimately the profound issues of the country, such as Supreme Court nominees, spending priorities, the environment, the choice issue, and so on, would dominate the decision-making process in Hollywood, as opposed to some memories from 5 or 6 years ago about Tipper Gore.
Rocker Ozzy Osbourne, whose music was a frequent target of the PMRC, would only say, quote, "I hope Tipper knows how to spell potato." Jim?
Laurin, no form of music generates more controversy these days than rap. But music fans with long memories wonder if the uproar over rap lyrics is just rock and roll history repeating itself. Mark Shearer takes a look.
Rap is reaping headlines. Provocative rappers drawing fire from politicians, police, and parents. To some observers, though, there's nothing new under the sun.
Rap music is music that can irritate your parents. Rock and roll initially started that way, but has become something that your parents like.
It's loud, there's no melody, it's hard to make out the words. Parents said that 30 years ago about what was originally labeled race music and became rock and roll.
I think, that kids always find more meaning in the popular music of the day than their parents will. And I think that maybe parents conveniently forget it 20 or 30 years later after they were a kid.
But the man behind the success of Public Enemy, Run DMC, LL Cool J, and others, rap impresario Russell Simmons, says it was sex that made early rock and roll scary. It's social issues that make rap scary.
So they get to talk about things that are very scary, that people would rather sweep under the rug. So it's a little different from rock and roll. Although rock and roll, that same fear was based on like a generation gap, and there were some things that kids talked about then that sort of scared adults.
Some of the civil rights leaders are communicating with the kids. Some of them are not. To stand up at a podium nowadays and go, "We'll get there, we shall overcome," is getting a little tired. These kids want something to do now. They want to take action now. And I think they're doing it through rap.
Rap is the voice of a frustrated community, and they've got every right in many, many ways to be frustrated. And they should be listened to, no matter how hard it sometimes takes to swallow it and to listen to it. You've got to listen to it, because if you don't, you're doing it at your peril.
It's like if I was a white adult and my kid had a Public Enemy album in his record collection, I think I'd be kind of concerned there. You know what I mean? Now, even though it's nothing to be concerned about, because when you look at the guys from Public Enemy, they're just two guys probably trying to feed their family the same way Ozzy Osbourne, like they said, okay, he bit off a bat head, and then everybody, this whole witchcraft thing and black. He's probably a regular guy trying to feed his family.
Where it'll go from here, I don't know. But at the moment, it is, we should all be glad that it's there, because it's a wonderful vent for a lot of frustration.
So was smashing up musical instruments. One of the few things rappers haven't been taken to task for. Mark Shearer, CNN Entertainment News, New York.
Need a zap, crackle, or pop for your movie? There's a studio in Hollywood that specializes in flashes, arcs, and particle beams. Available Light's latest project was the upcoming Disney release, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Dennis Michael has the story.
Laser blasts and lightning bolts, they're required seasonings for high-tech movies, but they're created in a surprisingly low-tech way.
We do it the old-fashioned way, one frame at a time. We're still, with all the computers and the technology and everything, we're still drawing an awful lot of stuff at one single frame at a time, sometimes 5 drawings per frame, because there's a lot of stuff we do that they just haven't figured out another way to do it yet.
Available Light, the crackling veterans behind some of the best-known blasts of energy in movie history, spent 8 months working on special effects for Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. And if you strung all those shots together, the total would add up to about 3.5 minutes.
We blew them up, we took them down, we zapped them with electricity. We have friendly electricity, we have electromagnetic pulses. We do a whole sequence on a microwave, or little tendrils of something or another coming out of the microwave that help the kid get big.
With the help of a rotoscoping camera, artists can draw right to the finished live-action film.
All we have is just a gun and a little bit of steam coming off. So we go in and we add in all this material here. Nothing is there.
Magic comes in a variety of shapes, even in little dots.
One of the elements in this shot involves the mother and the child disappearing into a shower of sparks. And to get this effect, we take the last frame of the mother and the kid, and we make them into this sort of dot art. Then we run an interfering pattern over it, slowly moving it to add twinkle to the dots.
Although Available Light does much of its work with motion control computer camera systems, in this area of high-tech movie making, they remain very hands-on.
It's probably the dumbest way in the world to make a movie, but there's no other way to get it. Effects are us. We'll grab it where we can get it.
Dennis Michael, CNN Entertainment News, Hollywood.
Still to come on Showbiz Today, Penny and Gary Marshall.
When I hear the rain, I know I'm in for it. The dampness, the chill. Arthritis pain seems to come from every joint in my body. For pain like this, now instead of aspirin, I take Advil. Advil contains the same medicine my doctor often prescribes for arthritis pain. In fact...